She needs to be on a better team.
Look, there's no more Caitlin Clark. Regardless of what others may think, she has already packed her things and is not turning around. And excellent for her, to be honest. In contrast to the league, she genuinely appreciates herself. She won't stay to serve as a target for a league that couldn't even defend its brightest star. The absurd thing is that even after she signed her new contract in Europe, ESPN continues to pretend as though they have any influence over her choices.
Struggled with physical defense she's faced at the professional level and voiced frustration with the league's officiating, recently telling reporters, quote, "I feel like I'm getting hammered and everybody is physical with me, and opponents get away with things that other people don't get away with." That's what Caitlin Clark.
She has been receiving a lot of criticism from fans as well as players, and the referees have chosen to overlook it. These supporters genuinely found it hard to accept that she was the sole one attempting to keep everything together. In essence, maintaining the ridiculousness of the league.
I am upset about. It's like, hey man, your meal ticket is under constant attack. There's been dirty plays all season.
Here's the problem, though. She just revealed something shocking to the WNBA, and now everyone is in complete panic. She came to the conclusion that she was worth more than, well, being handled like a broken cash cow. Sorry, ESPN. The coop has been flown by your golden goose. You are left with nothing but this enormous void and the possibility of a great loss. Throughout the season, Caitlin Clark faced the burden of this league, enduring brutal fouls and having her body inspected as though she were playing hockey rather than basketball. Now, she is traveling to Europe. ESPN's attempt to appear unconcerned about it is nearly comical. She made the decision that enough was enough, and now she's leaving a path of hopes dashed and egos devastated. And to be honest, I don't hold her at all responsible.
She's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league. And
This player isn't only making progress. She is definitely getting better. She scored 29 points, gave out 10 assists, and pulled down 7 rebounds in her most recent game against the Connecticut Sun. Her teammates, however, kept making mistakes while just staring at her. They failed to take advantage of open shots. To be honest, they called plays that no high school coach would ever utilize. The WNBA allowed the officials to treat her like a punching bag while knowing that spectators weren't signing up for a UFC battle. The WNBA evolved into precisely that. Each and every time Clark set foot on the ground.
Clark was assaulted yesterday in her very first playoff game in
The Indiana Fever were fortunate to draw roughly 3,000 spectators every game prior to Caitlin. To be honest, it felt less like a business gathering and more like a block party in the neighborhood. Now that she was there, however, every game was attended by 177,000 spectators. It's a 400. ESPN and its analysts are now finally recognizing that they have been sitting on a cash cow all along. How convenient, huh?
Indiana Fever, all right, with Caitlin Clark, led the league in attendance both home and on the road. Fever averaged 17,000.
How impactful is that, really? They were dealing with more than simply a star. They experienced a once-in-a-generation occurrence. However, everyone wanted to continue concentrating on sharing the wealth rather than truly honoring the one person that elevated the WNBA to this level of popularity.
Caitlin Clark is the quote-unquote savior. If she's the golden girl, milk.
Let's not even talk about product sales to acquire this. More jerseys were sold by Caitlin Clark than by any other player in league history. Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi are examples of Hall of Famers. Not only is that incredible, it's historic. She made the WNBA a must-watch television program. Her competitions were essentially a national affair. Was she ever treated like the superstar she was by ESPN, though? No. They treated her like any other athlete and provided her with substandard coverage. They're hurrying to act as though they weren't completely sleeping on her now. However, it's too late. Yes.
Truth is finally coming to the light. The same light that is going to be dimming here in about 12 hours when Caitlin Clark is eliminated from the playoff.
Watching ESPN right now is insane. After a WNBA career that has essentially been a nightmare, Caitlin Clark made the decision to relocate to Europe, and all eyes are immediately on her. Her matchup with the New York Liberty attracted 1.5 million spectators. Compared to certain NBA games on TNT, that is more. There will be a lot of empty seats, dirty jerseys, and talking heads at ESPN trying to figure out how they ruined the most straightforward victory in the history of sports broadcasting now that she's gone.
It's important that we point this out. One of the things that I brought up this morning in talking about Caitlin Clark is that some of the players, you want to use the word jealousy, fine. You want to use the word envy.
Consider this. As a rising star and the face of a franchise, you are treated like a punching bag by the league. The physicality Caitlin Clark had to deal with in the league was that severe. She felt as though she was going into a street brawl. The league simply pretended that nothing was wrong, so she didn't even have to defend herself each time she put on her shoes.
But if you're not delivering the product and you're not making the revenue and you're not, giving people the entertainment that they want, then you're not going to make any money and your league is going to.
Additionally, if you watched any of her games, you would notice that the referees were more focused on playing see no evil, hear no evil than anything else. In reality, what did the WNBA do? Everyone should have been greatly awakened by the notorious iPad incident. The WNBA, however, decided to ignore it, claiming that it's perfectly okay for a great player to be viewed as an outsider in their own league. Clark went so far as to say that she felt like she was being beaten up on the court.
And this woman swats at the basketball and somehow decides to turn her hand down and her fingernails and jab them right into the eye of Caitlin Clark. No foul call. No refs stopping the game to go, is this a flagrant? None of that. Just everybody moved on.
And the psychological toll, man, you're putting in a lot of effort to lead a team, but you're left vulnerable, undefended, and worse, chastised for your incapacity to do so. Let me rest. Words cannot even describe that. Every wasted opportunity, every shot he shot. Then, where were they? They are currently making pitiful attempts to catch up. The league and its media backers made a grave error that continues to this day.
Those guys, they're the racists. When really, y'all are the racists. The people coming up with excuses to hate Caitlin Clark and the new fan base that she brought.
But hold on, it gets even more juicy. Regarding racial discrimination within the fandom, Alyssa Thomas made remarks. Additionally, rather than saying, "Oh, I don't know," concentrating on Caitlin's incredible abilities, what was done by ESPN, Thomas began to accuse. She asserted that Clark's success was somehow rooted in racial relations.
Honestly, it's been a lot of nonsense. I think in my 11-year career, I've never experienced the racial comments from the Indiana Fever fan base. We had her face on a serious matter that happened in this world, and it's unacceptable, honestly. And there's no place for it.
They simply tried to minimize Clark's accomplishments into a racial argument. They presented it as breaking news after framing the entire situation with this ludicrous scenario. Rather than merely displaying her record-breaking skills, she shattered records in the real world. She carried an entire squad on her back and set ankles.
Followers. And it's really easy to ignore, and most people don't know who she is in the sports world. The only reason why people even know who she is because of Caitlin Clark. And she still only got 14,000 followers on Twitter. She doesn't have much of a brand.
Clark completely refused to back down and answer. She maintained that hard work and tenacity, not some tenuous racial narrative, were the reasons behind her success. However, notice how biased the media's portrayal has been, the fact that she even had to do that. Since they obviously can't read a room, they then lean into it in an attempt to agitate the situation even more. The golden goose is her. They had a fantastic opportunity to position her as the next big thing. She was the next big thing, spoiler alert. Rather, they concentrated on a story that would only damage everyone's standing. It's embarrassing. Even so, what is the good effect on public opinion? It's only making the environment poisonous, even in the short term. When Clark should be receiving credit for her efforts, she shouldn't have to cope with these sideshow controversies.
Your biggest star, your meal ticket, the reason why you have relevancy, just got stabbed and assaulted and nothing.
All things considered, this whole situation is portraying the WNBA as complete amateurs. Not to mention the several plots surrounding the league's attempts to promote inclusivity. The league needs a big wake-up call because they have been promoting themselves as the League of Equality and Opportunity throughout the season. However, they left her entirely when it came time to safeguard their most prized possession.
What I am upset about is like, hey man, your meal ticket is under constant attack. There's been dirty plays all.
ESPN and the WNBA are now forced to deal with the consequences. The one player who made them a spectacle to watch was disregarded. Simply said, it's too late, too little. The WNBA had a fantastic opportunity to establish Caitlin as the league spokesperson and to create a whole franchise around her, but they were unsuccessful. They will merely watch as she takes her talents and all the excitement she generated to a league that truly values them now that they have lost their brightest star. Everyone is behaving as though they have just learned that she is the real deal. I wish you luck in Europe, Caitlin Clark, as she has currently packed her bags. She is going to a place that will recognize her talent and not allow her to be criticized at every game while the referees do nothing. Regarding ESPN, they are sitting there attempting to conceal the reality that they made a huge mistake. They are now holding a big fat nothing after letting a generational talent slide through their fingers. Given that they are currently the subject of a joke they were not even aware they were making, perhaps this is the wake-up call they sorely need. There will be an absolute meltdown at ESPN when she departs for Europe. All those juicy ratings are going to have to go. The irony is that they were only aware of their prize right before she departed. The amazing excitement that Caitlin Clark produced in a league that, let's face it, truly needed a miracle to stay relevant, along with the rise in apparel sales, are now being exploited to try and hype up other players who can't even match what Clark accomplished in a single season as she departs for Europe. ESPN and the WNBA are left to fend for themselves after her departure. Rather of settling for scraps, they could have created an empire around her. This is a tragedy, not just a loss. When the WNBA had an opportunity to be truly great, they lost severely. It's rare to find players like Clark, and when you do, you treat them like kings and queens. ESPN blew that opportunity. You are so deserving of more than this catastrophe. Go save Europe, Caitlin.